I'm Jeff Strong. I'm creator of the Auditory Brain Stimulation Therapy, Rhythmic Entrainment Intervention, and co-founder and creative director of BrainShiftRadio.com. And in this video, I want to talk a little bit about how to boost your brain with drumming rhythms. I've been using the drum for over 30 years to explore how to influence brain and behavior. And one of the things I focus a lot on is cognitive enhancement, memory enhancement, sensory processing improvement, calm and focus. And in this video, I'm going to look specifically at kind of memory and cognitive enhancement in general, kind of what it takes to activate your brain, to boost your brain. Neurological activation is pretty simple in a lot of ways. What you need is novelty. Anything new and unusual, the brain's going to engage in. So, if I just played anything at all that you're not familiar with, I could create an activation in your brain. But it goes beyond that if we're going to be doing something we're kind of pointing and kind of looking at kind of a long-term change. So let me just play a little bit for you what I might use for just creating an immediate sense of cognitive enhancement, just kind of activating your brain a little bit. Pretty simple, really. Let me play it and then I'll describe what I did. So here we go. Pretty simple. I played about 8 beats per second, maybe a little bit faster, and I constantly changed what I was doing. There was a lot of accents, a lot of different tones with the bass tone and the slaps and the open tones and then the muted tones. The idea here is to create an unpredictable pattern that the brain can't decipher, so the brain stays engaged. So if I just did this for 5-10 minutes, you would walk away feeling more clear. Your brain would be more engaged to whatever else you're doing. The problem with this is it can become distracting as well. So say you wanted to put this in the background to kind of help your ability to focus. This could be a little bit too much. You turn it down pretty quietly, it can help, but there needs to be some sort of kind of pattern to it that has a level of, I don't want to call it predictability, but it has to have a story to it in order to engage really efficiently for the long term. And then I also play around with tempos when I'm playing with the idea of memory or cognition. Just, it helps to have different tempos going too, and I'll vary them a little bit. If you've ever tried BrainShift Radio, and if you haven't, I recommend you do. We have a free trial. But BrainShift Radio's Brain Boost category has a couple of pieces within that category. Each category in BrainShift Radio, by the way, and there's 7 of them, has different levels. We have 5 levels in each one. And 2 of the levels in the Brain Boost category deal with memory and just mental clarity, what we consider cognitive enhancement. And those are the level 4 and 5 tracks in that overall Brain Boost category. So they're the more intense, the more unusual, the more unpredictable, and also in many cases faster rhythms. So I'll vary the tempo, and they'll vary like 0.2 of a beat per second at a time. I mean, pretty minimal change. So it might go from 8 beats per second to 8.2 beats per second to 8.4, and it might even go up as high as 12. What's going to happen in all of the Brain Boost categories with mental clarity and memory is they're going to be in the alpha state of consciousness. Now, I've talked a lot about different states of consciousness in my videos, and I spend a lot of time actually talking about theta. Theta being the inwardly directed state for meditation and intuition and creativity and problem solving. And this is a brain state existing from about 4 to around 7 or 8 beats per second, cycles per second. When I'm dealing with memory and cognitive enhancement in general, mental clarity, I'm looking at the alpha state of consciousness, which is the next level up from theta. It exists between about 8 and 13 cycles per second, beats per second. And this is an outwardly directed state where we're neurologically calm, but we're also engaged in our surroundings, and we're also more receptive to sensory input. And so I'll work within that time, that tempo frame of 8 and 12 beats per second, which is quite a huge range, by the way. 8 beats per second if I was going to play it musically, say I'm playing 16th notes. and a quarter note equals the 16th note. I'm at about 120 beats per minute. And then 12 beats per second brings us all the way up to around 180 beats per minute, which is pretty quick. So that's the range we're playing at, quite a difference. And like I said, I'll vary it 0.2 of a beat per second at a time. I don't want to go too quickly from one to the next because then it sounds jarring. But if you're slowly bringing somebody up from 8 to 9 beats per second, you're doing it in these little intervals as well as doing these rhythms I'm talking about, now you're getting the brain to really engage. And if you do this consistently, you can get the brain to learn how to stay active for longer. And that's the goal here with the Brain Boost, memory enhancement, cognitive enhancement end of Brain Shift Radio, and as well the custom program. Now the custom program works a little bit differently because I don't vary the tempo. All of our REI Custom Programs recordings are 8 beats per second. What we do there is we vary the particular rhythms what we're using, the accent patterns, the orchestration, and they're all related to these rhythms that we discovered in our early research, relating to specific responses. That's the specificity of what we're doing. The Brain Shift Radio, different tempo variations, come at it from a slightly different approach. Kind of think of that as interval training. What we're doing here is we're teaching the brain how to push a little bit more each time and making it very elastic. You know, a lot of people talk about neurological plasticity, the idea that we can learn new things as we get older, that our brains aren't hardwired anymore. We can make changes to our brains even if we're 50, 60, 70 years old. We don't get stuck necessarily in the rut. We have to make some really conscious choices to make these changes. We have to work to make these changes. Neurological plasticity requires us to learn something new. It requires us to stretch ourselves cognitively. So go learn a musical instrument or learn another language or read or go study somewhere. Take classes at your local college or whatever you need to do to start learning new things. That gets your brain engaged and improves your overall cognition. This is a similar kind of approach. It's very passive, obviously, because you're just listening to me play. But what we're doing here is we're giving the brain something to work on trying to decipher, trying to learn what I'm playing. And it's that process with the different tempos as well that gets the brain to stretch out of its regular zone and allows us to feel more mentally clear, for instance, or be able to process memory better. So I'm going to play for a little bit for you, a little something that you'll find on Brain Shift Radio with mental clarity. I'll play for a couple minutes. Just sit and relax. You can have the volume pretty low. You don't have to listen really closely here. The idea here mainly is to put this in the background. So as I'm playing, just kind of go about doing what you're doing. And notice after 5 minutes or so whether or not you have more mental clarity. And if you do and you want to explore some more, definitely go to brainshiftradio.com, sign up for a free trial, and choose the Brain Boost category, level 5 of mental clarity. So I'm going to play for a few minutes, just settle in and see how this feels for you. I'm actually going to play quite a few different tempos as well, so you're going to hear me speed up and slow down, which will be kind of interesting, as well as playing a variety of different rhythms. I'm going to kind of create a musicality around it if I can, but the main thing to do is just kind of let it be in the background as I play. So here we go.